Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So last week, the X of Swords Deluxe Edition did come out, so I figured we'd do a quick overview of that and talk about an omnibus coming out later this year. Over the weekend, a solicitation for X-Men by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus appeared on Amazon.com. It looks like it's going to retail for $75 and its target date is December 7th for a release. Looking at the solicitations right now, it's going to have everything but the X of Swords stuff and the Empire crossover. A lot of the times these omnibus could be released a little bit later than their target date, so hopefully we do see it before the end of 2021. So before we begin, I want to do some recommendations. House of X and Power of X are definitely ones you want to check out. This is the series that spearheaded the entire Jonathan Hickman X-Men run. Obviously, there's been a lot more writers and artists and a lot of creators added to the X-Men universe since this came out, but this is definitely the manifesto for what Jonathan Hickman's trying to say with the X-Men. Next up on the recommended list is New Mutants by Jonathan Hickman. This collects the issues that Jonathan Hickman wrote of the New Mutants series. It's definitely a good way to just kind of catch up with some of these side X-Men characters like the New Mutants. And then next up is X-Men by Jonathan Hickman Volume 1 and 2. This collects issues 1 through 11 of the Jonathan Hickman run. Followed by Giant Size X-Men by Jonathan Hickman. This is a series of one-shots where Jonathan Hickman kind of focuses on specific X-Men characters. And one of our more recent releases is Empire X-Men, which is a tie-in to the Empire series. This is just co-written by Jonathan Hickman, but like X of Swords, it has almost everyone on an ongoing series contributing to this mini-series or this event. So taking a look at the dust jacket, here is the artwork here. As you can see, this is a pretty massive book. It is a deluxe edition, but it's almost the size of an omnibus, and I swear I've seen omnibus even smaller than that. So it's interesting they didn't just come out with omnibus on the title, where they probably really could have. There's 23 issues total collected in this. There's the list right there, the 3 one-shots, the tie-ins from X-Men, Excalibur, Marauders, X-Force, New Mutants, Wolverine, Cable, Hellions, and X-Factor. So here's the interior cover. If we pop this open, we could see what's on the inside. So the first thing we see is a table of contents of what is collected in this book. There is 22 chapters of the main series and 1 prelude, so 23 issues total. Again, this is mostly spearheaded by Jonathan Hickman, but there's a lot of writers on this, like Jerry Dugan, Tini Howard, Benjamin Piercy. And I'm going to be 100% honest with everyone. I only was really into the Jonathan Hickman portion of this book. The rest of it, I honestly felt like was kind of filler and just kind of danced around the main plot of the main X-Men book. So nothing against the other ongoing series, but definitely the main title and the tie-ins are where the story's at. It follows Apocalypse very closely because it deals with basically his family from another dimension. And if you haven't been keeping up with the X-Men recently, they have become a separatist society living on the island of Krakoa. So the opposing force to Krakoa is another island in an alternate universe called Arakko. I know that's kind of confusing, and it's a lot to dig into. And apparently the Excalibur series really helps flesh out a lot of this ahead of time. I just haven't read that. Nothing against Tini Howard or Excalibur. It's just not something that has really piqued my interest too much. But as I was saying, the main X-Men series from this is actually pretty decent, and it's easy to follow for the most part. It still is, Jonathan Hickman, so there's a lot of ambiguous moments that don't get explained until later on. A lot of little Easter eggs, a lot of little things that you pick up on after a reread. All these matchups with these competing X-Men versus people from Arakko, some of them just kind of get silly and out of hand, and it really kind of derails the story a little bit. Like, there's one chapter specifically, and I can't remember if it's in the X-Factor or if it's in another book, but they basically were playing board games and all these other little silly things, and it just didn't seem like it fit right with Jonathan Hickman's narrative. The art is gorgeous though, so that's always a plus on this too. So zooming through this a little bit faster, definitely a lot going on here, a lot of stuff with Wolverine. It's nice seeing the original Wolverine back in action a little bit more. He recently got an ongoing series as well, so we see his tie-ins in this. and he's pretty much a key player in the X-Factor chapters as well. Sorry, X-Force chapters. So all these swords represent something different. Usually it matches their mutant ability somewhat, or the characters have a history with it, like Wolverine has the sword that is the only sword that could destroy his adamantium. Magic uses her soul sword. Moving out of this series, I don't really see what the ramifications of this series was. And I really hate saying that because I'm a huge Jonathan Hickman fan, and I'm even a big fan of like Jerry Dugan. And I love the X-Force, I love Wolverine, but I just didn't feel that this was giving us anything that we haven't seen already, or it was just something that was just not a well-constructed idea. A big plus to this series, though, is Hellions, which is surprisingly a very fun series to read. And it's kind of a series that I didn't expect to be a smash hit, but it definitely has made an impression in the X-Men comic book reader community, you could call it. And here's something that's littered throughout the book too, in a good way. It has these dossiers or just like encyclopedia entries about what these items are or certain characters are. So like right here we have sword, the soul sword, and it gives you a breakdown of basically everything the soul sword can do and what it's used for. Another cool thing is we get to see Apocalypse's original Horsemen. So all the Horsemen we know from Marvel Comics so far are not the actual original one. Retroactively, they created these guys who originally worked for Apocalypse, and now they're kind of working against him. So we're getting to the end here. Jonathan Hickman's run on X-Men is actually coming up pretty soon here. I think he ends on issue 22, which is a tie-in to the Hellfire Gala, which is another event that they're doing. Another event that I'm not 100% sold on just yet, but I will give it a shot. And he has some mystery X-Men book coming out after that. Jerry Dugan has taken over the X-Men title, which, you know, he's a fantastic writer, so I look forward to seeing what he does with it. It just kind of seems like Jonathan Hickman's run was cut a little bit earlier than normal. A lot of his runs go for a lot longer than 22 issues. And if you're a fan of what he did with Avengers, you'll definitely see a lot of themes here that are similar to what he did with Avengers and the Infinity crossover and Secret Wars. A lot of similar feel to what he did with those comics. So getting at the end here, the story wraps up. I don't want to spoil anything too much, but we'll go into the bonus features is what I'll call them. So we get some of the original promo art here, some variant covers. There were a lot of variant covers to this series. Some of the concept art, more variants. Again, there's a lot of variants. So there's almost 20 pages of variants. So that's when you know Marvel is definitely doing a cash grab, because that's a lot of covers for the same comic book. So this is X of Swords. I hope you guys do give it a shot, because if you do like X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, this is the only way to collect the issues 12 through 15. Those aren't going to be collected in a trade paperback, and they're not going to be collected in the Omnibus. So definitely get it just if you want to be a completist and read all of Jonathan Hickman's run. There's definitely things in this that impact his run overall, so it's worth checking out just for that. I want to thank you guys again for checking out the channel. If you do like what you see, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. I'll catch you guys all later. Time to jump off the Omnibus.